you're here with Enhanced Movements and Movement Code. We are at you with your Movement Mondays, and today we are asking, is that your hamstring you are really stretching? So this was prompted by a patient who came into one of these new like fascial stretch places that are popping up. So essentially it's kind of like a massage place that you can just go in and you can set up a stretch session with a stretch therapist, which I think can be super fantastic for those that are having like some real tight range of motion issues. But we just want to make sure that what we're doing is actually making changes in the way that we want. So for this particular individual, lower back pain, sciatic type of issues, reported tight hamstrings and things like that, which have been managing well with the care that we're doing, the rehab care, modified movements, etc., but wanted to get more of a stretch in because the hamstrings felt tight. So went to one of these places, and essentially what they did was just put them into a really aggressive sciatic nerve stretch, which pissed a whole bunch of stuff off. So the hamstring can be very deceiving when it feels tight as far as what's actually the underlying cause of why it's tight. Commonly we see this hamstring tension, this chronic hamstring tension, as a result of irritated nerves in the lower back or an irritated sciatic nerve, and the muscles essentially tight and to guard and protect that nerve, because we don't want to overstretch it. It's been overstretched or it's been compressed and it's irritated, so we're creating muscular tension around a pissed off nerve. Now, it's going to feel tight and it's going to respond somewhat beneficial if we stretch it, but if we're stretching in a way that's not only isolating the hamstring, but also putting extra stretch on that sciatic nerve, then you might be in trouble. We're going to kind of go and just show you how this might lay out. So the question is that toe touch you're doing, or that seated forward fold, simply just stretching the hamstring, which runs from your pelvis to your lower leg? Or are we actually stretching the sciatic nerve, which goes from the back, right, and then goes all the way down the back of the leg into the foot? And there's some ways in which you can change your foot position that'll tell you if it's more of a hamstring or maybe more of a nerve issue. So we're gonna dive down on the floor here. I'm gonna drop this down and hopefully you guys can see me pretty well here. So the easiest way to kind of look at this, and you can kind of evaluate and assess this, is by moving the foot or changing like your back position, right? So if I'm just doing a seated forward fold here, feet together, I'm rounding my lower back, and instantaneously, right when I get to about here, I do feel a little bit of a stretch in my hamstring area, right? So if I accentuate that by either leaning forward more or maybe keeping my back straight, do I feel that more? Okay, so you can kind of see how rounding or straightening your back may or may not change the tension. Now, keep in mind, hamstrings go from the pelvis to the lower part of the leg. So really, straight knees and a lot of hip flexion is what we're looking for to accentuate that stretch. Also seen like doing like a stretch like this, right? So in this case, high hip flexion, straight knee, I definitely feel this. Now, the question is, do I feel more of a stretch when I release the toe and bring the toe back and forth? Okay, so right now I'm doing what we refer to as like a nerve glide. So right now I feel high stretch in my hamstring. Now when I pull my toe up, that shoots up a lot. Notice the knee did not change position, the hip did not change position. So why is the hamstring stretch increasing by just me simply moving the toe? The argument would be is that nerve track is getting stretched further, causing this more of a nerve stretch feeling, not a hamstring stretch feeling, although it's in the exact same position. So this can be felt too. Again, if we're doing a seated forward fold, right? I would encourage you to try testing moving those toes back and forth and see if that changes it. Again, the goal is to stretch the hamstring, not the sciatic nerve. So could it be that we point our toes and get that stretch without putting that sciatic nerve under maximal tension? So again, the point is to question and argue what we're actually stretching, and more importantly, why we're actually trying to stretch and alleviate that. If your hamstrings are chronically tight and there's something that you're trying to work on, whether that be just range of motion issues, performance, whatever that is, it'd be good to get evaluated to understand why that chronic tension might be there. It might not just be because the muscle is tight. It might be protecting or guarding something, and that would need to be addressed before we just go stretching that stuff really hard or paying someone else to put you into some precarious positions that might flare things up. So, question, is that your hamstring you are stretching, or is it your sciatic nerve? So if you have any questions on this, or you suffer from sciatic issues, get evaluated by a good PT or a sports chiro. Shoot us a message. If you find this to be beneficial, if you're someone who's always trying to stretch your hamstrings and you're feeling this stuff, tag us as you're doing this. Share with another friend who you know is always talking about stretching their hamstrings, and I guarantee this will help a few of you out. So thanks for watching, and we appreciate the love and you guys sharing it.